Hi everyone, I am here with Jenny Smith, who is the founder of Community Carbon Trees, and she and her organization have been the inspiration and the motivation behind our most recent film, One Precious Life. So I'm excited to talk to you and hear a little bit more about Community Carbon Trees and the work that you have done.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for coming. It's been a blast. Community Carbon Trees is going on 12 years old, and I started this organization in response to basically an altercation I had with a cattle farmer who had cut down a huge piece of rainforest for real estate development. His cows were no longer thriving, feeding his family. The soil was dead, and I was working at the time in private reforestation, and I was planting trees on farms owned by foreigners. So I confronted him, and we had a conversation, and he very boldly told me that I was wrong, that he had every right to do what he did, and that he needed to feed his family, and he didn't have any money to reforest. He didn't have a way to do all of the super brawny work required, and that I was just off base. And so I really listened to him and thought about it, and went back to him a couple days later and offered to reforest his farm and pay for all the work and all the workers and bring all the trees. I was doing it with foreigners anyway, and he responded with so much hope and joy and gratitude, and it felt so good and so right. And that was the seed for converting the private work into a public, social, community, regenerative reforestation group.
Amazing, which is now focused on doing what exactly?
So we do all of this reforestation work on farms owned by Costa Ricans. And we do from the study of the land and solving the problems on the land, listening to the farmer family. We employ men and women. We have special areas where the women thrive, making the fertile soil to fill all the tree bags, selling fertile soil to the public, creating circular economies. Every part of the work, planting the trees, preparing the land, and maintaining the trees for about 6 years, which is required for them to grow. So it's all about fair pay and long-term follow-up with biodiverse tree planting. Every single kind of seed we can get and mimic the existing forest.
Amazing. It's so cool. I mean, we've gone to some of the forests, and you can't tell the difference between the reforested site and the natural jungle, which goes to show the biodiversity and the real kind of naturalism behind the work that you do. What is the science behind tree planting, and how is it contributing to cooling our environments globally?
Wow, great question. Equator trees rock. Truly, trees planted within 10 degrees of the equator are our most powerful tool to cool our planet and to recycle our water, to fix the broken hydrological cycle. So right now we're dealing with what I've coined the hot skillet effect. You throw water on a hot skillet, what happens?
Dries up.
Yeah, it evaporates up. So if we've got all this deforested land with over 60% of the world's forests cut down, we're just losing water. It's just skittling into the atmosphere as hot clouds. And around the equator, there are these magical currents called thermohaline currents, and they move the clouds, they move the oxygen around the globe. So we're able to introduce these cool clouds into these currents and circle those currents around the globe with our cool clouds. And that's dropping more predictable rain, less drought flood cycles, and certainly conserving our temperature lowering process. Too much water vapor, too much hot air. So we're dealing with the hot air problem. And so the water conservation is huge. We can't live without water. We can't live without healthy rain. And then the other part of that is sending out all the fresh oxygen. So that's really nourishing the entire planet. And then we go into the carbon sequestration aspects. So trees on the equator grow bigger, harder, faster. We don't freeze. They're absorbing tons and tons of carbon dioxide, not only in the tree itself, but in the soil. So those three reasons are really huge for creating a powerful solution to regenerate nature's ability to nurture us.
Wow. So you are in the midst of creating a new certification around people being able to purchase carbon offset. And this is a much more holistic version of buying the carbon offset. Can you talk a little bit about this new certification?
Yes, I would love to. I'm working with my mentor from Earth University, and we are creating a protocol that will measure not only the carbon dioxide sequestered by the trees, but also this water footprint, this water conservation and recycling, the return of biodiversity, literally counting species of trees and secondary regenerating plants, plus all the creatures, great and small, from the pumas down to the mushrooms. All of it matters. All of it's the interconnected web of life, and all of it is part of our thriving and the forest really regenerating. So we want to count all those things, and then one of the biggest things we want to count is the social justice, the salaries, the living wage that we're creating through the planting of the trees, the working in the nurseries, and the long-term follow-up. So all of that is very unique of our organization, and we want to offer the bigger companies and the smaller individuals, sure, but we want to show this certification and give them an option of a group that they can trust, that the money is actually going back into the communities, not just in the work, but in the hands-on learning process. This collaboration, this true horizontal empowerment and uplifting that has shown itself to support the long-term conservation of what we plant now.
Yeah. I mean, the forests you planted 20 years ago are now thriving jungles that basically are living on their own, which is amazing. And just think what it will be in 20 more years. It's really a living regeneration in all of the ways, and how it's spreading horizontally. It's so unique and so inventive. Mm-hmm. What is the future of community carbon trees?
We just want to keep growing, Nathan, and we want to replicate to more communities. We want to continue to start at the beginning of the process with the seed, and the seed having the right conditions to sprout, to nourish these communities, to uplift, to create jobs, and to regenerate the land, having food sovereignty and organics, getting the folks off the deep use of pesticides and herbicides, and falling back in love with their land, falling back in love with the trees and their neighbors, working together. We just want to keep replicating.
Yeah.
So, and all throughout Central America, it's really important right now because of the deforestation and the poverty. There's no end to where we can go with enough funding and collaboration.
Yeah. Essentially, you've created a model, a hyper-local model that allows for great pay for the local people along with great benefit for the environment. And now that model needs to be replicated on a horizontal plane, and you need money and resources to do that. So how can we help you?
You're doing it right here. Simply making this movie and giving back, sponsoring trees. And that's just the easiest way you can help us. Sponsor a tree. Sponsor as many as you can. Birthdays, events, just because. So sponsoring trees is number one. Sharing us with your communities, your friends, your family, people with businesses, doing that give back over and over and over again. Certainly, the example with Hive Creates, everyone's got their gift, their zone of genius, their beautiful thing they're putting in the world. So attaching this give back, this sponsoring trees with your gift into the world is hugely helpful for the regeneration movement. And it's also just good business. It's good for your brand. It's good for your soul. It feels amazing. So it's all about the collaboration, certainly helping us get out into the world, liking our social media. We're Community Carbon Trees Costa Rica, and I'm Tree Jenny, and both accounts are constantly showing the work and constantly, a day in the life and their long, eventful days. Super welcome. Please share our interesting posts, stories, anything you see. And you can be a tree ambassador, you can become a spokesperson and an advocate, and we just like to work with people directly and really respond to your ideas and your creativity and how to give back.
Yeah, let's make this movement of regeneration one of art and one of service, because service is where we find joy, and that is apparent in my dear friend Jenny and this film. Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting Hive and Community Carbon Trees. We will see you when we see you.